Awesome. And is it all good on FB?
No,
While you know, well,
no.
should we just record it and then post it?
Yeah, okay, we'll do that.
Okay. Okay. So we've had a bit of a technical difficulty type of morning, but
Yeah,
we're here now.
yes.
Welcome welcome back, Chantal. I'm so excited to
Mm,
have you on again. Like last time was just such an incredible episode, and I think about it a
mm.
lot, honestly. Yeah, it touched me so deeply, and I'm really excited to talk to you again because we're going to go into kind of our uh normal type of episode where basically we just pick a subject and we like talk about it in depth. And yeah, first of all, if anybody hasn't seen our first episode with Chantal, I highly recommend that you go watch it because it's just deeply moving and just I received so much from it.
Yes, and I'll post it down below in the comments.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, perfect.
Oh,
So today's topic of conversation is about finding balance in an unbalanced world.
mm,
So for me, this is like such a big topic and broad, and you could go in so many kind of
mm.
directions. But yeah, I'm gonna just kind of hand the mic over to you, Chantal, and let you take this in the direction where you feel called to kind of
Yeah,
steer.
yeah.
Mm,
And yeah.
Cool. Thank you. And it's interesting. I've been sitting in the energies this morning, just really feeling into yeah, balance and what that means and looks like. And I had some weird things happen to me this morning too. I had a mosquito fly right into my left eye and I couldn't see for ages. I was like, oh no, now I'm okay.
Oh,
So it's a little bit puffed up. But it's like for me, it's like often we're like seeking balance. It's like, how can I find balance? And from what I've come to know and believe so deeply is it's coming into balance within ourselves. Is
mm,
like we can look for things to make us feel safe.
mm,
If I get the thing, if I'm going to meet, have this or that, that's going to make me feel safe. More money, more security. But if we're not able to find that inner balance within, um, which is, that union of, I believe, where we're really at right now. And this might challenge some people's belief systems, but around the unification of the inner of our mass of the divine, the feminine energies, and then the masculine energies. So to me, it's like we're at a place right now where I feel like planet Earth has been run by this patriarchal masculine energy for so long,
mm,
and almost a distorted version of the masculine,
mm,
power, money,
yes.
control. And then now we have the feminine who's rising, and she's coming online more and more. And it's like we're coming to this meeting point. And I know for me personally, and many women I weave with have been on this journey of inner returning back to the feminine, bringing this beautiful feminine energy, this nurturing energy, healing the dark, the shadow of the feminine. And then, but we're really at a point now where this is, I mean, it's so live in the political scene right now, as you can really see the toxicity of the patriarchal energies. And it's like it's so
mm,
exposed right now. But it's like, and I feel like there's so many of us, myself, I can get pulled into the vortex of looking outside of ourselves and pointing, and oh my god, why is it, it's like everything that is showing up outside of ourselves is still happening within each one of us, that
mm,
dis-ease, that imbalance. And so it's like, for what's showing up in my work and myself, always going into the energies of looking within and finding that inner knowing and that balance, and that deep healing. Especially, I feel like we're at this point right now where we're really at this healing of the dark masculine within
mm,
ourselves, which is it's so much control. It's so much, it's like we're held in this safety. It's like, how do I just let go and let go? It's like we've got the feminine dancing, and she's so really, really here to support the masculine, but we're still holding on so tightly to everything that was, everything that we've been conditioned and programmed to be. And so that safety to me is anchored in the lower chakras, which is, you know, our roots and our sacral areas. And that shows up in my work is how there's still so much. So when we're out of balance in our lower chakras, that shows up as fear, as shame, as unsafety. It's not safe to speak my voice. It's not safe to do this or that because of that deep energy of shame. I'm going to be shamed. And yeah, I've been really sitting with the energy of shame this morning too, a lot of shame, because it's too scary when we have that innate knowing inside where something's not quite right, but the shame of being taken out or made wrong for that. So that's kind of where I've been like really weaving with those energies lately within my work. And I often have women who come to me with so many like problems within their lower product, like, you know, for instance, what are they called, bladder, when you have a UTI. So UTIs, bladder problems, pain in the cervix, and to me that's a manifestation of like unprocessed rage. It's like it burns, it's fiery. It's like instead of like sourcing outside of ourselves for pills to fix the UTI, which is how we do things, more and more people are now going, there's something deeper that my body needs to communicate now, and I need to give that pain a voice. I need to give that shoulder pain that's been killing me in my back and debilitating me for so long, especially on the masculine side, that I can't sleep. I've now got frozen shoulder. It's like I've taken all the pills and it still won't go away. It's like really we're coming back to a place of coming back within. It's like, and to like listen to what our bodies are communicating with us, to heal and bring deep love and nourishment and holding to these pieces of ourselves that have become so fragmented by lifetimes and lifetimes of our souls being so fragmented. And I've recently been, you know, also sitting in the energies and of like the divine architecture. So as we're all, our souls are birthed, however you look at it, as a beautiful divine blueprint. And then there's been like an artificial overlays on our beautiful divine blueprint. So it's, I feel like there's still like these two split worlds right now of this art, this beautiful organic architecture, which is where we're heading towards. Then there's a stronghold of this inorganic artificial architecture. So it's like coming back into balance of moving through those fake artificial programs and noticing them, being with them, and meeting them. So I kind of just see the energies, and I hope I'm making sense. And bringing
You
love.
are.
Oh, good. Sometimes I go, ooh. Bringing love and deep nurturing to these unmet, unseen places that often what I'm noticing in people's bodies when I'm working with them, these dense energies are of art. They're not even ours. They're not ours to hold. They're not our wounds to carry. They've been like almost artificially emplaced within the body, within these looping cycles in this prison planet, I call it, where we just keep, you know, coming back and looping and into trauma. So we're never ever healing because we've been holding all our ancestors, our mothers, our grandmothers, still holding on to the pain. So it's been like, so for me right now, it's what I'm seeing is this place of really coming back into self more than ever, listening to our bodies. Have a little break.
Listening to our bodies. I think that's a huge part for me. That's been a huge part of my healing journey is listening to listening to my body. And it's so intelligent. We don't realize how just that one thing, listening, taking time in our day to listen to our bodies and what we need and what our body is telling us, where the pains are, you know, all of that stuff, it holds so much wisdom.
Mhm.
And I think if it's just one thing that I can say to people through this video, is that is something you can do, is just to sit and listen to your body, and listen to the wisdom that it has, because it can start you on an amazing journey to healing. Would you
Mm.
agree with
Yeah.
that, Chantal?
100%.
Mm.
100%. And for so long, we will source things outside of ourselves, or maybe it's just too painful. So a program that we do is we'll go and to the doctor to get the medication to fix the thing, but we're not fixing anything. We're merely blocking that intelligence.
Yes.
That intelligence, right? We're blocking the intelligence of the body that is actually communicating with us all the time. And I've been recently talking to a friend of mine around her wisdom. You should get her on her. She's amazing around viruses and bugs. And often, like the other day, I had a snotty nose and I was getting a bit feverish, and I said, "Oh, I think I've caught something, something's caught me, it's such a weird thing we do." And she's like, "Well, Chantal, just sit. Maybe your body's actually just processing something right now. Like, just be with it."
Yeah.
And I had some turmeric, and I just sat with whatever my body was doing, and just allowed that energy or whatever was reconfiguring in my body, the snotty nose, the fever, then just bringing love and consciousness to that, and with my turmeric tea, and then within hours later, I was back. I didn't even realize that it was all gone. And it's like
Mm.
sometimes we're
Mm.
so easy to give our power away to a bug or a virus or a flu, as well. So it's the
Mm.
same thing with our body. When our body's communicating with us, it's like, be with that energy, be with that knot that you've been screaming at you for years, and you keep avoiding it. So it's being in a place of avoidance. And it's the same thing with people in our lives who keep showing up with the same bullshit. They keep showing up, and we keep avoiding what actually needs to happen here. We actually have to have a
Mm.
really raw, real conversation with each other, or we need to let that relationship go. But we
Mm.
avoid what's difficult because it's much easier to stay comfortable. But we're at
Yeah.
a place now actually where I say in some of the things, it's like we're so done with that. We can't anymore. We just can't. To be, if we continue to keep avoiding all the signs, all the things, our bodies, the people who are showing up, life is gonna just keep getting more, I'm gonna say the word fucking chaotic.
Yeah.
And it's just gonna keep showing up now. And it's not necessarily pretty or easy, but once you start bringing consciousness to it, it becomes easier to do, and we become more empowered, and we learn how to navigate pain and uncomfortable situations easier. But there's so much fear in that. It's fear in the unknown. And I notice when I speak to people and women, they're curious about what I do, and they're like, "Oh," and I can feel there's an interest in wanting to learn, but then there's this fear of not knowing what we don't know when we've never been
Mm.
shown it.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, it's exciting to see now that it's so many more of these conversations are happening, and it's becoming more normalized to seek and to step out of the medical establishments, and that this work is actually becoming accessible for people who are in the medical worlds as well. Um,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, because I believe that you can, like, sometimes it's a step too far for some people. Like,
Mm.
oh, I was having a conversation yesterday with a colleague of mine whose sister is battling with cancer,
Mm.
and she was talking about how her sister decided to go the natural route because this is the second bout of cancer she's had. The first time she chose to go down the Western medicine route, and it it was really tough for her. She found it very, very difficult dealing with all the chemo and the chemicals and everything. She got, in her eyes, she got more sick
Mm.
dealing with the medications than she did when she was dealing with the cancer. And this time it's come back now, and she's decided that she was going to deal with the cancer through more natural healing modalities. And the girl I was talking to about it, she was saying that it really scared her that her sister was doing that. She was like, oh, I don't want her to do that because I don't think it's going to work. And so it can be really daunting and scary to think I'm not going to take the mainstream route of medicine. I'm going to take my body and my healing in my own hands and do it the way I want to do it. And I think it can be confronting, because if your family is saying to you, don't do it, I don't want you to do that, I want you, because everybody has an opinion, of course. But I think if that's the case and you want to do both, perhaps, if it's a step too far to turn your back on Western medicine, then do both. I mean,
Balance.
yes. Yeah, exactly.
We don't have to go too far. Like, I fully believe in balance. I needed pills when I needed them, and then they were
Yes.
pills. When my daughter first died, I don't think I could have survived without those pills that they put me on.
The help, yeah,
They
the help.
helped me.
Yes.
But there was no one there guiding me off them. I just kept giving more and more and more. So then there
That's
was
the
like,
key, isn't it?
it's like, okay, put the tools back in the toolbox. I needed them in that moment. And I think that what our beautiful brothers and sisters do in the medical establishments are amazing. It's just gone so far one way.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yes.
and we don't want to go so, like, I have friends also in the spiritual or holistic community that go so far that way. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, that's not really me. Like, I'm going to still, eat that or have a glass of that. Like, I'm not going to throw everything in the wind. Like, I'm still here having a human experience and want to live and enjoy
Yes.
certain things, if I want to have a glass of red wine or, it's like, I don't want to create shame for myself because
Yes, that's the
or
key, the shame of it. Exactly.
yes, or shame other people. Oh, you eat that. Like, I felt people stare at me because of things, and I can feel that projection. And it's wrong. We can't do that anymore. We can only do ourselves. And because
That's
we just
right.
Shame,
yes,
shame
that's
is
shame.
is the most we talk about being healthy. Shame is the most unhealthy emotion in the world, and it causes so much disease in the body. Like, it's the worst thing to do for your own mind, body, and soul. It's I talking about this, like, I'm trying to find my own balance with my health and like finding what makes me feel the best. And sometimes there's been so many times where I have a cold and I take echinacea instead of, like, I never resort to any type of cold or flu medicine off the shelf. Like, I always just get echinacea, and it works like a charm for me. And then on the other hand, like, there's times where, like, I've been traveling and I've gotten really sick and I didn't know what happened. I don't know what it is. And I avoided going to the doctor a lot because it's, I do have this belief that I trust my own body first before I go and talk to a doctor. And sometimes I can step into avoidance of going to the doctor through that because I'm scared of the doctor. And so then I'll let a sickness continue to worsen, and it steps slowly to, like, there was one time where it slowly stepped into almost dangerous, like, because I avoided it for a little bit too long. And I was fine. Like, I caught it in time, and I did that because I listened to my body. And it was like, I remember one day I was like, yeah, this isn't going away. I need to go to a doctor. But I could have solved the issue a lot sooner.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's like about finding balance, and there is, you know, especially with big pharma, that's like a
Mm,
big thing for me, is like
mm,
anything with big pharma involved, I'm like, screw you. Like I don't want
yeah.
to, yeah, I don't want to step into that. But sometimes, you know, there is a place for it.
Yes.
And it's very, you know, we talk about an unbalanced world,
Mm,
and it really is. And it's like so confusing when you
yes.
have
Mm,
these like values and these beliefs,
Mm,
um and then like trying to learn when to kind of bend
mm,
your own rules for your own safety, or for the safety of your children, or for the health of your body, and then
yeah.
when to like stay true to
Trust. Yeah.
um
I
yeah,
think it's
it's very
important to know. I think it's important to know in that situation, are you avoiding because of fear or are you
Yeah.
following, like, because
Mm,
I mean, the balance is not being scared and going when appropriate, right? So if you can have that conversation with yourself and feel into the feelings that you're having, am I
mm,
not going to the doctor because
mm,
I'm scared to
mm,
go
mm,
and I'm just using my own, belief systems
mm,
to avoid going to the
mm,
doctor? Or am I really, following
mm.
my own heart here?
yeah. Yeah.
And I think
100%.
knowing the difference, like that's
Yeah.
something, again, coming back to the self and
Yeah.
knowing the self.
And yeah, I totally agree. And I think that's so what we're seeing so much now is there's so many things happening, and we coming back to that innate wisdom. It's like where
Yes.
it's like you just know straight away. You're like you have a yes or a no in the body. It's like, yep, that feels good. Yep, that feels right. Or but when you're at a point where you're like, oh, I don't know what to do, you're confusion. There's something
Mm.
there. It's like, there's something there that needs to be looked at. That's like to me is such a disimbalance. Like I really trust that first, like, yes, I need to go. Like a while ago, my daughter had an infection in her foot and it was getting hot and inflamed. And I never take my kids to the doctors unless, they're like the sick flus and that. They don't really, you can do all of that at home with, just
Mm.
looking after them. But it was getting bigger and bigger. And I had this feeling like that just does not feel good. It's hot, it's inflamed. And I took her to Starship Hospital at 3 o'clock in the morning, and it turned out she had um, an infection in her blood in her ankle. And I don't not know how on earth that happened, but I'm so glad and they got her on the antibiotics for like harder antibiotics, and she was fine. But it was so scary. But it was like
Mm.
Mm.
trusting that innate knowing like straight away, because it could have been so life-threatening from her. But sometimes, how do we do that? How do we trust that gut? Because a lot of the times in my life, I didn't trust that little voice. I didn't have that little voice. And
Yes.
it's like some of us just don't have it. There's fear, there's past traumas, there's past experiences that stop us from listening to that innate knowing this is what we need to do right now. And that to me is the deep healing, especially around the lower chakras.
Mm.
A lot of the work that I do is, I don't know if you guys talk much about um, past life stuff or
Oh, yes, we do.
SRA and things like that. So,
Yeah, we do. Go for
yeah,
it. Talk about
is
it.
that okay? Because
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I go really deep into these realms I have in this lifetime for myself. And I've had many experiences of being sexually, I've been sexually abused in this, raped. I've been raped and drugged in this lifetime. I haven't spoken much about it, but it's something that I'm feeling more and safe to speak about. But I also had to go right back into past lifetimes of remembering, like literally being skinned alive, remembering being
Wow.
cut up, severed, your womb being like ripped out, and the sexual satanic ritual abuse that have happened to many of us in many lifetimes
Yeah.
will create such an imprint in our body that we don't have that safety, and it's like such deep work. And I think, and that's what I see in the clients that are coming through now. Like when their guides and their ancestors come in, they're showing me. Like I've had women from China, actually just brings tears to my eyes. From China, the
Mm.
woman from India a while ago, and what they're showing me, what her ancestors have experienced, it's just like, holy fuck. And we wonder why we a lot of people are like, I've had a good life, I've had good parents, but I just, you know, I can't do
Mm.
this. I don't have any creativity. I'm so small. And it's like we're holding our ancestors and our ancestors' traumas as well, and
Mm.
also karmically our past lifetimes. And so a lot of that right now is what I love to talk about, is the multidimensional part of healing, because we can, when we start getting into those deeper imprints in the body, into the DNA, into our cellular memory, into the bones, this is where the deeper healing for me is really, really showing up. And it's like meeting those deeper levels of which some people aren't ready to yet, but I think it's just going to start coming up, and a lot more of the word SRA, satanic ritual abuse. I've got a few good friends who I weave with who've taught me so much about it, and I've studied it for like the past 7 years, and I've had such a lock in my throat. It's like I've been too scared to talk about it. But I feel like this, knowing that our building blocks of us as humans, this whole civilization has been built upon the harvesting of innocence. And
Yes. Oh my goodness.
like that's like, we can go all the way back, but that's our innocence. And
Yes.
I see it in my work. I see it as the souls that we are. um you know, I often see people just walking around like wounded little children, you know, especially narcissistic people. They're just ready to
Mm.
fight. It's just not safe.
Yeah.
And you look at
Yes.
the world right now, the fighting and the war, and even people who are so-called awake, they're almost waiting for this Armageddon. They're waiting for this big, like, apocalyptic
Mm.
thing to happen,
Yeah.
because actually it'll be
Yeah.
easier for them for that to happen, because actually no, it's you know, it's deeper than that.
Yes, the
um
Armageddon is happening
yeah,
within.
it's in.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
the fight where I don't I
Mm.
mean, I'm saying fight, but I
Yeah.
don't mean
No, yeah,
fight. I
I
mean,
feel you.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's the to and froing
Yeah.
inside
The,
ourselves. Yes, the shaking,
yeah.
dark night of the soul,
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it. It's that
Mm.
deep, deep
Mm.
reckoning that you have with yourself internally, that
Mm-hmm.
you are battling with. You're battling with your own imbalances, with your
Mm-hmm.
own fears, with your own programs, with the things that have
Mm-hmm.
happened in your, because I really do believe, I really, really, really believe when we have those experiences within
Mm-hmm.
ourselves and we're willing to go there, we're brave, and we go
Mm.
within ourselves and we find those imbalances and we get real with ourselves and we have those
Real.
conversations internally.
Mm-hmm.
We're clearing it for ourselves, but we're also clearing it because we
Mm.
are all one. We're all
Oneness. Yeah.
connected.
Yeah.
We're clearing it for each other
Mm-hmm.
as well. And we're clearing
Yes.
it for our ancestors.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all
Yeah.
connected. So we think that we're doing it for ourselves, and we
Mm-hmm.
are doing it
Mm.
for ourselves, but we are also laying the groundwork for future generations and for past generations and for each other.
Mm.
For each other. And
Mm.
often we you know, and that's the shadow work, that's looking within the shadow, the distortions, where
Yes.
we've manipulated, I mean, where I've manipulated people, where I have been that dark, and I've taken from the masculine, and I've manipulated with my sexual energy to get what I want, and I've owned
Yes.
that, and I fucking own that, and I've done it. Money, power, greed. It's like we can focus on the feminine and the love and light, and it's like, no, we've got to own all of that, because I still see it
Yes.
Yes.
playing out in the love and light feminine community. I'm like, there's something there that needs to be brought
Yeah.
into the womb, through the earth, and held, and not shot up through here, but like the beautiful woman that I weave with, it's like always coming, like we descend, bringing it up, healing from the earth. And
Mm.
it's, yeah, it's in that darkness, in that sticky, icky yucky stuff, that we can bring light and replenishment into some of the ugliest things that most of us want to avoid.
Mm.
Mm.
And because there's shame, so much shame in it. And you see that playing out on the world stage right now with what's happening with the celebrities and the drugging and the rape with these influencers who have been
Yeah.
influencing me as a teenager, my teenagers. And now you're like, these
Mm.
people are evil. And that is what has been fed into our TV screens, into our children, the
Mm.
sexualizing of children, sexualizing of our
Mm.
sacred innocence, the
Yeah.
separation from our divinity. Don't even get me started about the feminist movement right now. Oh my God.
Oh, I
Yeah.
know.
This is
It,
another podcast.
yeah.
But
Yeah, actually, that would be a really good one. I'd love to talk about that.
me too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
me too.
I,
I
s-
started writing about it. Yeah.
yeah.
I,
Oh,
I think, well, one thing going on the ancestor thing that you mentioned, Chantal, about like how all these people, like, oh, I've had such a good life, like I don't feel that traumatized, and yet I, I feel traumatized. I haven't gone through trauma, but I feel
mm,
traumatized,
Yeah.
and I
mm,
think something that we so unconsciously we're born into this world with these programs, so we've never lived life without them. And experiments have been done on rats, for example, where um they were like put into this like cage, and this um fence was put in, that like an electric fence was put in, and the rats were put into the cage initially without it, and then introduced with it, with
mm,
this like electric fence was introduced, and so they investigated it and they got electric shocked, and they continued to get electric shocked until they learned not to touch it. And then they stayed in the cage, and then they had babies, and the babies never even touched the electric
Mm.
fence. The electric fence was, I think, even replaced with like an exact replica, but it was not electric, like electricity charged, electric charged. God, words are hard for me today. But anyway, the babies never touched the fence. They never touched the fence, and they never experienced the shock of it, but they still lived with the trauma of being scared of the fence. And
Through their
this
parents.
carried on
Mm.
for, I think it was like I think it was either 5
mm,
or up to 10
mm,
times before the
mm,
babies
mm,
started touching the fence again.
mm,
Took 5 generations, or it was an insane number like that. It was like 5 or 6, or even possibly 10, but it was multiple regenerations of rats until eventually they touched the fence. And that is like a big reflection on, consciousness, and
Yeah.
on the human
Fear, on how fear
experience,
controls us.
and how fear
yeah.
controls us.
Mm,
And it wasn't even like, you know, um, these, like, it was almost just an unspoken thing. I mean, who knows, maybe rats have their own language, but for the babies never to even touch the fence, it was just as they just knew that was the way of life. That's what their parents did. And then like, I don't know, I just think that's a really real reflection
yes.
on humans,
Yes.
Mm.
and also, like, especially with the female, like, feminine wound as
Mm,
well, like, boy, is that a deep one. That's thousands and thousands and thousands of years
mm,
of trauma. Like,
mm,
it's
Mm.
not something that just happened yesterday. I mean, women who are still alive today, like, couldn't vote
mm,
when they were growing up, and couldn't,
mm,
like, it is insanely recent things. Some of these, like, you know, equal rights was not
mm,
a thing for most,
mm,
like, for my grandparents. It wasn't even just for like 50 years ago. Life was so
mm,
different, and it goes back and back and back, and it's so deep. And I think we need to give ourselves a little bit more kindness
mm.
as a human race, and a bit of empathy towards each other for
Action. Mm,
for being so
Yeah.
sensitive.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
Juliet, what I'm seeing actually, which has been coming up for me recently, we don't have empathy for each other. We actually, I see people blaming themselves just for being human. We are the
Mm,
parasites of the world. We need to get rid. If we want the the earth to heal, if we want nature to come back online and to heal, we need to get rid of people. That's what
Yeah,
they
yeah,
truly believe that.
yeah.
You
Which
know,
is
so
so
we are
crazy.
there was
we
We
that
are
big
we
nature.
that
yeah,
big
we're
program.
blaming ourselves. We're not being,
No.
you know, understanding. We're not being kind to ourselves at all.
Mm,
Yes, and that was a huge program for me. I don't know if you remember growing up and having like your home had to have this imprint, how much recycling you have in your home. And I remember, I don't know, remember what it was called. I seeing the commercials and like, how big is the footprint? How big is
Yeah.
your family's footprint? And I
Yeah.
used to like look at how bad, and I had shame as a family. I'm like, oh my God, we're bad
Yes.
people. We're bad. And I felt I had like white shame because I'm so shameful because
Yeah.
I'm a white and I'm bad. And like it was like that's almost been a ideology that's been programmed into us to make us feel like shitty, that the world as it is right now is our fault, not these
mm,
establishments, not the
Yes.
that all these corporations, I call them, that have actually programmed us to be little bots like these rats. And now,
Yes.
whereas us kids are starting to touch the fence and go, oh, fuck, we're still alive. Shit, I'm going to
Yes.
touch it some
yeah.
more.
Yes.
Oh, we're
Yeah.
still
Yes.
alive. Fuck you, motherfuckers. I'm not getting like controlled anymore. And sorry, is my mouth. Um, but
No, you
it's
swear away. There's no limit.
yeah. But it's like we're touching the fence. People are touching the fence and like, actually, I'm still okay.
Mm,
I'm still alive. I'm okay. I'm gonna
Mm.
climb a
yeah.
little higher. What will that feel like? And it's so empowering to see. And children is like even my kids now, they're questioning things and they're going, hang on a minute. That doesn't feel right. And I'm like, good, question everything. Question
Yes.
Yeah.
everything. If we're not
Yes.
questioning things, and I think it's powerful that women have the right, but then that was another movement as well that went so out of
Mm,
balance because women were like, okay, we can work, we've got the boat, we can
I
do
know.
everything a man can do. And then men have
Yes.
become emasculated and they're like, oh, well, actually, I was thinking about it the other day. If I wanted to leave my husband, I could go and get my benefit, I could get my whole rent paid for, I could pretty much be fine without him. To be,
yeah.
I wouldn't be fine emotionally or physically, but I mean, if it's so easy now for the family unit to split. And so in a way,
Yeah.
it's a really good thing. But hey, where are the systems to help this marriage come together?
Yes.
I don't want to leave
Mm,
my husband. I was just using an example. I've wanted to in the past, but like how can we help this couple work through this instead of coming apart and going, fuck you, the
Yes.
yeah.
grass is greener here. I'm going to do much better without you. You're not making enough money for me. I can do it myself. You're this. It was like, how do we, there's beautiful people here now doing amazing work with relationships, but coming back, and that's the relationships together. So everything's getting split.
Yeah.
It's like everything's just the polarization at the moment is so crazy and so obvious.
Yeah.
So the right wing is like, so there's some things that are so polarized, and there's some things in there that I actually think are really good. And then with the left, there's like whole like, oh, that's absolutely insane. But yeah, I get that piece too. But it's like coming
Yeah.
back into that balance. It's like there's just so much. There feels like there are so many energies trying to keep that divine unification happening. But what
Mm,
I can feel and sense is it's going to happen, and it's happening.
Yeah.
It's happening
yeah.
anyway, whether we like it or not. But having these conversations and bringing light to this, I feel is so important because it helps
Mm.
people to look and go, oh, wow, right? Like what you guys do. And me being able to work so hard to be able to open my voice because there's no way I would have been able to say any of this years ago. No
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
Shame,
It is.
persecution.
It's shame is this tool. Is this? It's the number one tool in the toolbox of
Mm.
um the government, of the news, of
Yeah.
anything. And once you open your
Mm.
eyes to that, everything makes sense. And I think,
Mm.
like, oh my God, going to the environmental stuff, it's just insane to me how global warming is put on the individual. and like how it's like all you, it's, you know, you're the reason, you're the reason for these carbon emissions, you're the reason for the oil spills, you're the reason for this. And it's like, and you know, this expectation of, okay, so it's your job to fix it as well. We all have to come together as you know, people, which is inherently a good, you know, thought, right? And but it's up to us, and we have to recycle, and we have to do this, and that no one's pointing and looking to the big corporations and the big, like, you know, how about we turn our eyes to
Right.
that
Yes.
Yes.
And
and
that's,
get them.
yeah. Let's get the
They're
people
the
fighting
ones.
and never look at the people at the top. Let's get
Yes.
them
Yeah.
fighting. And that's what I wrote this down. What has been really coming through is been witnessing that the powers that be use people's unhealed trauma, right? They use the
Mm,
trauma to activate people's
Yeah.
yeah.
rage, to activate
Yes.
people's shame, using people's trauma. They know how the body works. It's like,
Yes.
Yeah.
and
Yes.
that's the mind control and the programming and
Yes.
trauma-based fear programming that we
Yes.
get, and then creating these political games, like, and you're like, actually, hang on a minute, you're who? All of a sudden, yeah. And I see some stuff happening in New Zealand right now. I don't go too much into the political things, but um we've had these amazing Maori protests, huge, all them coming together, but then I see the New Zealand Herald actually like saying real numbers and promoting it, and I'm like, what? There's something here that doesn't feel right.
Yes.
Because why would
Mm,
an establishment like the New Zealand Herald, who is, we know, is so corrupt, and we saw what they did over COVID, all of a sudden they're doing the right thing? And I'm like,
Mm.
alarm
yeah.
bells. There's a
Yes.
distortion
Mm,
happening here. There's something beautiful happening, but there's also a manipulation energy in there. So it's like, be so wary on the games and the energies and the power plays, because
Yeah.
they feed off trauma,
Yeah.
yeah.
of trauma.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
my feeling lately has been this the feeling of stepping back and not getting involved and watching
Yes.
and
Yes.
observing and
Mm,
giving yourself the space in
mm,
anything. We're not just talking the news and political
mm,
stuff and the world
mm,
stage. We're talking anything in your life.
mm,
We're talking, you know, down to the minute details of deciding what to have for dinner and things like that.
mm,
I think what happens is we get so used to injecting ourselves into the drama and having an opinion and having to be present in that
mm,
drama filled moment.
mm,
If we can learn to give ourselves the space to just
mm,
step back a little bit and not inject ourselves into
mm,
what's happening in front of us, which is the
mm.
projection,
Yes.
um, and take, you know, a moment to just observe
Mm,
and not be involved. If
mm.
we can do that, because
Mm,
I feel like over
Gold. That
the
is
years,
gold.
yeah,
Mm,
because I'm 53,
mm,
and I feel like when I was younger, there was a lot of that. Like
mm,
I saw adults actively taking a step back and being the
mm,
observer. I don't
mm,
see it anymore. I feel
mm,
like if we
no.
could practice
mm,
that a little bit in
mm.
our own lives, where we go, okay, well, this thing is going on, this conflict is happening
Yes.
in front of me. I'm
Mm,
not going to get involved. I'm not taking a side. I'm taking a
mm,
step back and I'm just going to observe. And I'm going to say, I
mm,
don't know enough right now in this
mm,
moment to step in. I
mm,
don't know what
Mm,
I want for dinner right now. So I'm not going to put the pressure on myself to know. I'm just
mm,
going to allow myself to feel
mm,
into it and have a little bit of space,
mm.
you know, and that's for everything, the
Yeah.
political climate, you know,
Yeah.
the neighbors fighting or
Mm,
whatever it is, um and that to me is kindness to the self.
mm,
Give yourself the space that you
mm.
need to have a little bit of time to think, time to
yeah.
observe.
And I love that. I've been practicing that so
Mm,
much lately. It's been coming back into my center point, into that stillness,
yes.
and being in that place of observing and going, mm-hmm, but not in a place of judgment or anger.
No.
And noticing
Exactly.
when that fire comes, it's like, hang on, what is that? But just observing and going, oh, that's interesting. And like, yeah, and just observing. And I noticed that there are definitely really strong energies out there pulling us out of that center point. But
Yes.
it's like I often, if I'm part in a conflict or something is happening in my house or there's energy that's turbulent, it's like I find just like holding myself like this and just go,
Yeah.
there you are. It's like, where is my center right now? It's all the way over there. It's not even, I'm not even in it. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, come back,
Yeah.
bring the energy
Yeah.
back. Oh fuck, it's all the way over there. Oh gosh, Chantal, like it's like, oh yeah. Wait, then that stillness and that center point
Yeah.
and that balance. Yeah.
Mm.
I love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's something that I
Definitely.
think has been very hard for me, especially
Mm,
if my kids are involved. I get
mm,
very like, fight or flight mode, like you
mm,
just get ready to pounce.
mm,
And I think it's important, even with our kids, when
mm,
something is so emotional, we feel guilty if we take a step or take a
mm,
beat. Like, oh no, I've got to be there. I've got to, I've got to protect. I've got to, you know, even with our kids, like even with something that's so important to us, it's beneficial to just take a beat and go, okay, I'm just gonna look at all the options, look at everything,
mm.
and just take, like, not pounce so quickly.
Yeah, I
It's
find for
difficult to
that
do, but
it's
it's
so
so
difficult. I
beneficial.
find that so like my biggest triggers in my life are being a mother of four. It's like I've got all these different personalities, 3, 6, 9, 16,
Yeah.
and a husband. It's like I don't need to go anywhere. I'm just constantly um
Mm.
processing and taking responsibility. Oh shit, I shouldn't have said that. Oh my gosh, Chantal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
hard. It's so
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah. I know it's easy to talk about
It
here
is.
between us, but it is very
Yeah.
difficult to put into
Yes.
practice.
Yes.
But
But
I think
yeah.
talking about it and having these conversations is
Mm,
like literally, for me at least, the stepping point, the start, not even the starting point. It's always just um it's the way that keeps me going and
Mm.
gets me started. Like, it's so easy to have these conversations, but at least we're thinking about it, we're talking about it,
Yes.
we're processing it. And then when you do go out in real life, again, with the empathy thing, having empathy and understanding that we're real humans who go
mm,
through real challenges
mm,
and a lot of, you know, emotional stuff. So
mm.
we might not get it on the first try, we might not get it on the second or the third or the fourth, but at least we're thinking about
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
things and working towards it.
Yeah.
And I
Because,
mm.
yeah, you go.
Oh, so yeah, I was
I'm
going to say
basically
sorry,
finished.
bringing consciousness and
Yeah,
awareness to my own bullshit,
Yeah.
and
yeah,
going and calling myself out. I could have handled that so much better. And then apologizing to my children and being vulnerable with them and going, I shouldn't have reacted like that. I'm sorry that, I did that and I'm learning. And this is
Mm.
yeah.
how I actually my mother talked to me, and it's really something that is imprinted so deeply, but I'm trying so hard to change that
Mm,
Yeah.
program because it
Yeah.
just comes and
yeah,
I'm like, oh
yeah,
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 Yeah, because Chantal, when we give
yeah,
ourselves permission to make
yeah.
mistakes like that and we ask for
Mm,
forgiveness, it
mm,
shows our children that they can make mistakes and that they can
mm,
ask for forgiveness. Like, and that
mm,
shows empathy for the self.
mm,
It's like, oh, I
mm,
messed up here, can I get another go at it?
yeah.
And it shows them that they get another go too. So I think
Mm,
that's
mm,
beautiful.
mm, yeah.
yeah. Wow.
What time are we at, Juliet? How are we going?
It's been about 55 minutes,
Oh,
I
cool. So
think.
we're nearly there.
Yeah, yeah. It's been
Yeah.
a epic conversation.
I
Yeah,
know.
this has been amazing. Thank you so
Yeah.
much, Chantel. Like,
You're so welcome.
bringing this subject matter out is like
Yeah.
perfect timing. It's
It feels
perfect.
like
Mm,
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it feels it. And there's so much around shame, and I just felt like adding been doing quite a bit of process around shame, and it's like when we can bring when we have brave enough and have enough courage to bring that shame forward,
Mm.
it's like it's not like we have to get rid of the shame. There's nothing to get rid of. It's not bad. It's like, how can we alchemize that shame and let it bring love to that piece of us, bring love and allow that to become our voice, our medicine, and our
Yeah.
why.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like my shame that I carried for so long is my why. And I'm
Yes.
not going to allow that shame to suppress me anymore, or to keep me small and afraid and scared and little. It's like,
Yeah.
how can we have alchemize that beautiful that shame, or as ugly and as insidious as it is, to bring love there and healing. And that can be a process in itself. Maybe it's not insidious, maybe it's just a little thing, but there are so many depths of shame. And I really feel that we're at a point now of being able to hold space for that,
Yeah.
for the darkness, for the unseen, the stuff that people
Yeah.
keep so hidden. Don't fucking look here.
Yeah.
No, look over here.
Yeah.
Nope, that's not me. It's like those pieces. And that's what I'm really feeling and sensing within our own body, because there's so much magic when we can bring that. Because often, if you can find someone to even talk to about that shame, who can hold that shame for you, and you can allow that shame to move, however which way you process your shame, but it's like, oh, I'm still alive. I didn't get killed. I'm still
Mm.
here.
Yeah.
Oh,
Mm.
I
Yeah.
can be with the shame. It's
Yeah.
okay. Some
Yeah.
people
And
won't be able
what
to hold it, so you have to. Yeah.
Yeah.
what dropped in for me when you were saying that is, that universal number one law of like science and spirituality, which is energy cannot be created or destroyed, it can only
Mm,
be transformed.
yeah.
So getting rid of shame just
Mm,
isn't gonna work. Like
no.
you can't.
Mm,
And transforming that by giving
mm,
it love and giving it your attention and letting the judgment of it go
mm,
is what will like bring it up and kind
mm,
of release in a sense. And it's still
mm,
part of your journey, but it's
mm.
not about getting rid of it, because that's almost this paradox of like shaming the shame is, when you can't get rid of
100%. Yeah.
it.
Shame. But that's so fucked up. Shaming the shame. Oh my God, I think
Yeah.
that's what we do. I think
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
has been done.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
It's,
Yeah.
if we
It's
start to look
crazy.
at shame as a signpost, it's like, all that shame's coming up there.
mm,
It's communicating to you that
mm,
there's something there that needs
mm.
moving. There's something there that's stuck. There's something there
Yeah.
that's like, oh, I want to bury that down, because I know that's what it feels like. If there's something shameful in me, it's
Mm,
like that goes in the Pandora's box and locked away in the cupboard
mm,
forever. You know,
mm,
I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to look at it. It's shameful. It's to be put aside, and
Mm,
I'm not, I don't want to be a bad person, because what's going to happen to me if people see me as a bad person, I'm going to be
mm,
ostracized. Nobody's going to like me. I'm going to lose friends. I'm going to lose family because of this shameful thing.
yeah.
it's such.
There's all these
Yeah.
consequences. So I think,
Mm,
seeing shame as a signpost that that's something that
mm,
needs to be looked at, that's something
mm.
that needs care and attention with the right people. As you said,
Yeah.
Chantel, don't just trust anybody,
No.
and then once you get that system happening in your life where you've got trusted people that you can talk to about things. And a lot of the time, if I've found that when I've shared something shameful with somebody that I trust, they have had something very similar that they share with
Mm,
me. And so it's like, oh, you feel the same way. Like, you have the
mm,
same feeling of shame that I do. And it's
mm,
such a relief to feel that you're not alone.
mm.
Yeah.
you know, that there's somebody out there that understands how you're feeling about certain things in your life and things that you've done or things you've said or whatever it is, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Wow.
it's powerful stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is.
Wow.
And I think it's also the energy that has actually made us as humans so diminished too. So it's like the opposite of that is just dead. And
Yeah.
then the opposite is just so much aliveness.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, this is a huge program that
Mm.
needs attention. It needs unraveling. And I
Mhm.
think by doing that, like having these conversations and
Mhm.
being brave enough to step into the darkness and say,
Mm.
oh, there's a box of shame. I'm going to open it and go
Mm.
through everything.
Mm.
I think that's the start of humanity healing and
Mm.
humanity starting to see itself as not bad.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's what we
Yeah.
need right now.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
humanity
Yeah.
needs. That's what each of us need. We need to understand being white is not shameful. You're born that way. You can't. How can you be ashamed? I've got brown eyes. Am I going to be ashamed that I have brown eyes? You know, like
Yeah.
I'm born that way. I'm
Mm.
being ashamed of something that you can't change is
Yeah.
like this loop that you're in constantly and you're never going to get out of it. It's like
Right.
chains around you.
Oh.
I mean, that's
Mm.
just one example, you
Yeah.
know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So many examples of shame,
Yeah.
really, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Awesome, Chantal.
Well,
Thank you so much
thank
for your
you.
time and
Oh,
bringing
you're
this to our
welcome.
attention. It's
I
been
just love
Thank
wonderful.
you.
I love that I can just be me with you beautiful woman. I love the bounce and the
Yeah.
energy. I feel like there's such an alignment of depth that I really
Yes.
respect and safety. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank
Yeah.
you
Thank
for that.
you.
That's what
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
strive to
Yeah.
achieve. Yes.
Create. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a really massive compliment. So thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
All
We
right,
hope to have you on
everyone.
again
Mwah.
soon. Mwah.
Yeah,
Thank you, everyone.
absolutely. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.